Welcome back. We are going to move on to the school committee portion of our debate. Welcome to the Chamber of Commerce Candidates Forum. And the school committee has 2 seats available and 3 candidates. And the candidates are incumbent Anita Hill, former school committee member Dr. Erdem Ural, and also incumbent Joe McDonough. Joe was invited to attend this evening and declined. He was also invited to submit a statement and also declined. Before we start, I would like to go over the rules once more. Each candidate will be given 90 seconds for a closing statement. Each candidate will be allowed 90 seconds to answer each question. And if you would like the opportunity for a rebuttal, we will allow 1 for 60 seconds. I would like to thank Christine Iacobucci, our timekeeper, as well. Okay, so I'm going to start with Dr. Erdem Ural with the first question, and that is, what are some things you hope to accomplish in a 3-year term on the school committee?
This is a really exciting time for the school district because we have a new high school that will take possession, I think, in July, and we have a new superintendent coming in. So, the sky is the limit. One of the things that I want to deal with is there is a big split between the 1 Pearl Street and the Stoughton School District. So I like to bring, man, it's 1 minute already, bring a bridge, try to bridge I'll work with my fellow school committee members and try to bridge the gap because I have been to a finance committee meeting and I've watched the school committee meetings. Things are getting really ugly. We don't need to do that. We have 1 town and we should have 1 team. So that's my number 1 priority. My number 2 priority is in the past 3 years, the school committee has done some, displayed some poor judgment. So if there's a question, I'll like to explain what I mean by that. So I would like to work with my fellow members to restore the credibility of the school committee and the administration. Then we got the diversity issues, we got the student achievement issues, and the protection of the children and taxpayers.
Thank you. Same question, Anita.
Thank you. What I hope to accomplish in the next 3 years is basically, everybody says it, to continue what I've been doing, continue to work on the process, to continue to work on budgets, continue to work on what's best for all of our students. Obviously, the new superintendent is top on the list. Superintendent is going to be also learning the ropes, but I'm hoping that we can work together closely with him and ask him what plans, what programs worked in Sharon, what worked, what didn't work. We can learn from each other doing that and develop future programs from that. He is the one who, the superintendent, along with his admin team, is the ones who would set curriculum, but the superintendent does keep us highly abreast of what's going on there. So I'm just hoping that we could really move the kids forward. New high school is a prime location for it. We just had a tour of it on Saturday. It's still a lot of cement and bricks, but it's looking beautiful.
Excellent, thank you. And speaking of the superintendent, this next question goes to Anita. How would you define the working relationship between the superintendent and the school committee? And do you foresee a different dynamic with the newly appointed superintendent?
The working relationship with the school superintendent. School committee members are charged with hiring, terminating, and evaluating a school superintendent as one of their duties. We work very closely with the superintendent. The existing superintendent has kept us abreast of any and all issues that are supposed to come before the school committee. Like I said, there's a dividing line between what the superintendent handles with their administration and between what the school committee needs to know and needs to glean from the superintendent for their responsibilities. Our responsibilities are to approve a budget. We, the 5 of us, don't make the budget ourselves. It's presented to us. There's discussion, there's questions, lots of questions as for what is being spent and how it's being spent. We eventually approve a final number that then goes to town meeting. There's also policies. And the entire school committee has voted on updating all the school committee policies. We've used the MASC guidelines and templates, and they're actually now all current, and we keep them current. They're online for everybody to see. So those are all involving the school committee and the superintendent working as one team.
Thank you. Dr. Urel?
Michael, I'm sorry, the acoustics is really bad, and I have a foreigner ear, so...
Sure, I will repeat
could
the
you,
question. Absolutely.
give the full question again?
How would you define the working relationship between the superintendent and the school committee, and do you foresee a different dynamic with the newly appointed superintendent?
I think I see a new dynamic because the new superintendent is more... I looked at his resume and I watched his interview. He's academically strong. It's a big improvement. So I think he will be more in tune with improving the student achievement. I hope he's more straightforward with the more willing, because I heard him say in his interview that he's willing to reach out to the town and the town manager to make things more harmonious and with the one town idea. So I think that will be improving. But I disagree with Ms. Hill. The budget is school committee's budget. So superintendent, may come up with proposals. I mean, I look at the history of the proposed numbers. They keep going back and back and back. And then I heard the superintendent say that this budget is doesn't have the full numbers. It's going to it has some cushion in it. I think the budget should reflect. The school committee gives the educational goals of the district, and then the budget should be more firm. And there is, I can tell you later on, the, oops, sorry.
Thank you. Rebuttal?
Please. The budget is not made by the school committee. It is presented to the school committee from the superintendent. She starts in July or August. She gets her administration team together. They work on a level service. The first thing they do is level service. They roll everything forward, and they go from there. The final product, the initial final product, is presented to the school committee as a whole. It's discussed. It's debated. The final product is approved by December 31st. It has to be submitted in order to go for approval to the submission by the Board of Selectmen into town meeting.
Dr.
Well, I disagree. I think Ms. Hill is saying the same thing, is that the school committee has a strong, of course, the superintendent comes with the first draft, and the school committee, of course, I mean, it would be ridiculous if the school committee had to vote on the superintendent's budget. So there is a process, feedback process, the budget gets modified. Okay, and I mean, in fact, I heard the superintendent at the finance committee meeting last Thursday. She was saying, the school committee, we reduced the budget by this much again. So it's facetious to say that the superintendent makes the budget and school committee has no fault in requiring more money than that's needed for that budget.
Okay, continuing on the subject of the budget, this question goes
Speak slowly,
first.
Mike, I'm so sorry. Could you speak more slowly
Sure.
and a little louder, maybe?
Okay, this question is for you. The school committee is pushing to have its proposed budget fully funded. At the present time, this will require cuts to the municipal budget. Where do you propose cuts be made so that the school department budget can be fully funded?
That's a great question. The school committee has came up with there was a handout that was passed. In November, they came up with a 5.7% increase. And then in December, they reduced it to 4.52% increase. In January, they reduced it to 3.75% increase. There is a lot of things to be cut in the budget because the superintendent acknowledged that in the FinCom meeting Thursday, somebody asked, because when a teacher is a senior teacher, makes like maybe $90,000, $100,000. When you replace that person, the new replacement comes in at $40,000. So that's maybe $50,000 cost savings for retired teachers, new teachers coming in. So somebody asked, does that budget have these numbers? She said, no, we don't budget it that way, so it has the current numbers. The other thing is the new budget has the superintendent's salary as if this superintendent is in office. But hopefully, we'll be getting the new superintendent is being hired at a lower salary. So this budget is not realistic. It's overblown. And the superintendent said, just give us the money at the end. If we don't use it, we'll return it to the town.
Anita?
The only thing that Dr. Ural was correct in were the percentages of the budget that were presented. Yes, we are down to a 3.43 increase over last year. Like I said, it's level serviced. We have asked for 3 additional teachers' aides in the special education department. We have asked for 1 new English language learner teacher because our students, there were 50 to 60 new students that required English language teaching. And also, we had to bring the nurse teacher into the budget because she was previously funded by a grant. So those are the basic increases. We know we're short from what the town side has dictated to us, but there's going to be meetings. There's going to be a meeting with the Board of Selectmen to go over the original split of the joint accounts. There's also, in our proposal, Dr. Rizzi came up with options of where that money could come from. There could be a FinCon reserve. They're looking at the stabilization reserve. And the revenue figures, as anyone who's been involved in town meeting knows, revenue figures continually to change right up until and sometimes through town meetings. So we will work together to work it out.
Thank you.
She said I'm incorrect on what I said. I mean, I like to point out just one example. Superintendent's salary in the new budget is $185,000. We would be fools if we are paying an unexperienced new superintendent $185,000. I don't know, Ms. Hill probably knows how much we hired the new superintendent for, but I'm betting it's not $185,000. And everything I said, go look at the teacher's contract. Look at the how much does an experienced teacher get versus a new teacher. $40,000, $50,000 cost savings. It's not reflected in this budget. Also, last debate I pointed out, I was first involved in school committee in 2008. Until now, over the last 10 years, we have a growth. The number of students have decreased, but the number of administrators, people with big salaries, have increased. So first thing I would look at is do we really need those positions?
Thank you. Would you like to respond?
Well, that's it.
Yes. Dr. Ural states that the superintendent's salary is in there at her full amount, and that's correct because level service, you roll it forward. Anything, and people in town meeting know also that at the end of the school year budget, if there are any monies left, school committee, school district has turned back to the town anywhere from $30,000 up to $300,000. It's not that we want to keep it, it's that we have to plan for it. People leave during the year. We require teachers to give us written notice if they want to take the early retirement. Someone who doesn't want to take early retirement can still retire, but they don't necessarily announce that, and sometimes they don't hold to that announcement. So we can't take advantage, we can't project retirements and bank on it.
Thank you. We're going to
was
move
our
on to the next
second
question.
rebuttal.
Thank you. This question goes first to Anita. Prior to Thanksgiving in 2016, there was an anti-Semitic incident at Stoughton High. The response to this incident led to the punishment of 3 SHS teachers, all of whom appealed the varying levels of discipline. Within the last year, 2 arbiters determined the school committee had overreached in its disciplining of 2 of the 3 teachers and either fully or partially overturned their punishments. Given this, how do you reflect on the school committee's handling of the teachers' discipline?
First of all, the anti-Semitic instances were horrific, and they're horrific for any school district where they happen, and unfortunately, Stoughton does not stand alone in them. The incidences were brought to our attention, and at the time, obviously, everything has to be an executive session. Executive sessions are not live. We can't publish it. The grievances that were filed and the issues that we had to go through took time. The arbitrator, actually, or mediator, I'm not sure which person it was for the decisions in those cases, those were judgments found against the district, and yes, we stand as the district, but they weren't our decisions at the time that those disciplines were handed down. We didn't do those. We were handed those as already a done deal, that those had been done, and we had to support them and go along with them. The cases that are still in discussion, they're still in litigation, and they're still private, so there's a lot of things that we can't talk about.
Thank you. Would you like the question repeated?
That would be nice. Thank you.
Prior to Thanksgiving in 2016, there was an anti-Semitic incident at Stoughton High. The response to this incident led to the punishment of 3 SHS teachers, all of whom appealed the varying levels of discipline. Within the last year, 2 arbiters determined the school committee had overreached in its disciplining of 2 of the 3 teachers, and either fully or partially overturned their punishments. Given this, how do you reflect on the school committee's handling of the teachers' discipline?
The teachers do not get disciplined by the school committee. They get disciplined by the principal and by the superintendent. But the school committee hopefully imparted proper culture into both of these key people. So I think it was unconscionable that the teacher got suspended, and then it was found that she wasn't guilty and she was restored and we paid her back. So essentially, through the principal and through the superintendent, school committee punished the kids. So I think that's unconscionable. The other example I want to give you is there was one incident that improper relations of a teacher with a student. In that case, the principal had to report it to the police. She didn't. And she had a duty to do it. But what did the school committee do? They elected that person to be their finalist for the superintendent search. So that shows you that there is a big judgment issue with the school committee, and I like to become a part of the school committee so I can at least bring these to the surface so people get into discussion.
Thank you. Would you like to respond?
Yep. Dr. Earl should know that many of these matters are private. This particular instance with the student and the teacher had been dealt with. We cannot go into it further because there is still ongoing litigation. There's many, many things that you probably may never know, only because we don't go out and publish it. We don't go out and tout that, oh, look, we were right or they were wrong. The school committee, again, like I said, we're presented with a situation that has happened. We're not there in real time. The superintendent comes to us and tells us the decisions that have been made. We support the superintendent's decisions. We are aware of the entire story. And once if and when you find out the entire story, we hope that you will understand our decisions.
Thank you.
Supporting the superintendent's every single decision is a problem that this school committee and the culture is suffering from. So you need to question, you need to understand, and at least give them the values of the town. And we are elected here to give the administration the values of our supporters, of our voters. So the example I gave you, 2 examples that shows the double standard in the school committee. In one case, the teacher did something. I thought it was good. And she got suspended. The other case, the improper sexual relationship with the teacher, the principal didn't report it, didn't have the police investigate it before the evidence became spoiled. The school committee did not suspend her. They should have suspended her and let the police investigate it.
Thank you. We're moving on to the next question, and this goes to you first, Dr. Ural.
Please speak slowly.
Sure. The following is taken from the new policy regarding professional conduct in maintaining boundaries. An appropriate boundary invasion example for non-guidance counseling staff is encouraging students to confide their personal or family problems and/or relationships. If a student initiates such discussions, staff members are expected to refer the student to appropriate guidance and counseling staff. What do you view as potential ramifications to a student losing the ability to confide in a trusted staff member?
I must admit, I haven't read that policy, but it is, I see some problems in there. I don't know if I understood what you read fully, but, you know, teachers, when I was a kid in elementary school, middle school, high school, teachers were like a second mom or a safety net. You know, you should be able to tell your problems to the teacher and get guidance from them. And if there is a need, you should be able to get help from them. They can find the resources. So I see some problems there, and I know a few teachers that are you know, concerned about that, and you know, I certainly appreciate that.
Thank you.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Absolutely. The following is taken from the new policy regarding professional conduct in maintaining boundaries. An appropriate boundary invasion example for non-guidance counseling staff is encouraging students to confide their personal or family problems and/or relationships. If a student initiates such discussions, staff members are expected to refer the student to appropriate guidance counseling staff. What do you view as potential ramifications to a student losing the ability to confide in a trusted staff member?
I'm sure everyone, when they were a student, had at least one teacher that they really liked, really trusted, really wanted, you know, was one of their, felt like they're one of their friends, and that's a great relationship, and many of our teachers have those relationships. It becomes a borderline gray area when the the student is too dependent on the teacher or too confiding to that teacher. Teachers are human also. So we have to establish some kind of policy and procedure, and the teacher needs to know where to draw the line and refer that student to a guidance counselor. A guidance counselor is also not a licensed therapist, but the guidance counselor has the tools to be able to make the judgment to see if that student needs further attention or not. It shouldn't be on the teacher themselves, because sometimes they're too close to the subject. They need to maintain their boundaries. That's what the policy states in itself. You know, personal and family. If your dog died and you're sad, that's fine. But if it becomes more, teachers need to report, and that's the law.
Thank you.
I just wanted to also point out that you know, if you follow that to the letter, we don't have enough guidance counselors. You know, the teacher should be involved, and guidance counselor may not be the right person. You know, we have school psychologists, but the school psychologist doesn't see anybody. I mean, at least my kid, I tried to see the school psychologist. I couldn't. So this is a vague policy. It's hard to figure out, you know, the boundary. It's a policy about boundaries, but I mean, the words you read to me, they are vague. There is no clear boundary.
Would you like to respond?
I'm good.
Thank you. Moving on to the next question. This will go to you first, Anita. Do you think there is a morale issue at Stoughton High School? And if so, how do you think the school committee can help to improve morale?
You didn't mention teachers, correct?
No, just
At the high school.
just a general morale issue overall.
It depends, and that morale is perception, unless you can get people to honestly discuss it with you. Morale can be boosted with a simple thing like a pizza party, whether it's the students or the teachers or the administration. The whole thing comes down to conversations and communication. If there's an issue, if there's a problem, if you have a question, no matter who you are, student, parent, teacher, please talk about it. We only know about it if after the fact. Somebody needs to If there's a problem, they need to escalate it. It's almost like when you're at a store and you want to talk to a manager. Please, if you have an issue, if there's something that we can deal with, we'd be happy to deal with it. It's not a matter of keeping it behind closed doors. It's not that we don't want to do anything about it. We would always want to work together and help each other.
Thank you.
Did you talk about high school or in general?
Stoughton High School in
high school,
particular,
okay.
yes.
I think there is a huge issue about the morale. The other day, one parent was telling me that their kids can tell who's in the in crowd and who's in the out crowd. I said, what do you mean? They said, well, administration likes certain teachers and very soft to them, and the other teachers are outside the circle, and they have poor morale. And then if the teachers have poor morale, kids also have poor morale because they go to school, barely waking up, and then they see teachers sulking. It destroys their morale. It destroys learning environment. One way I gauge the teachers' morale is I look at in the budget, look at the substitute teacher salaries. So if the morale is so bad, the teacher may feel sick. If my morale is not right, I may get sick. And then you get a substitute, you go to school, and then you get all crowded into a cafeteria, you get few substitute teachers. So I definitely think there is a morale issue, and I think that's a school committee's responsibility for not controlling the superintendent.
Thank you.
It definitely is the school responsibility for morale, and again, it's like I said, if it's reported to us, if it's brought to us, we can absolutely work through it and try to deal with it. However, to rely on one parent's story to one person that has not been shared with us is really not fair to bring up at this point. I have no evidence, I've been seen no evidence, and I've been given no evidence that this isn't indeed true in this case.
Thank you.
Ms. Hill seems to say deny that there is a morale issue.
That's not what I said.
Well, you said there is only one example is not enough for you to as a proof. But as a school committee member, you should know, I'm sure the teachers approach to you saying that there is a morale issue. I'm sure you have seen the substitute teacher salaries. I have seen in the Stoughton news, people are saying, what's all this teachers not showing up for work. So there is definitely an issue, and it is the problem of the school committee because school committee sets the culture. It guides the superintendent to set the right culture. If the school committee says, you will not retaliate, you will not punish, you will not do different treatments, then the morale will be good because all our teachers are great. But if you try to divide them into good people and in people and out people, that certainly destroys the morale.
Thank you. Our final question, and this will go to Dr. Ural first. What are you looking forward to most about the new Stoughton High School?
Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I have one child, he's a 7th grader, and so he's looking forward to going to the new high school. My older son is a junior in high school, so I'm hoping that, but he's going to Southeastern. I'm hoping that he will see the new building in summer and come back to Stoughton High School. So I think everything looks good. Even the cost savings. We're going to be saving a lot of money on fuel bills. But again, this budget doesn't reflect that. It's all baked in. So I think it's really going to be great.
Thank you.
Well, I happen to have a little advantage over Dr. Ural because, like I said, we just did a tour this past Saturday, and now it's still a lot of bricks and mortar, and not everything's finished, but I am just, it's as pretty as I pictured it in my head, even though it's not finished. The gym, oh my gosh, the gym. It's not a field house, which I was hoping my fingers for, but it's at least 3 times as big as what we have now. The basketball hoops are all installed. The dividing curtain is hanging there waiting to go. The auditorium, Again, we have 950 seats now. It's going to be 750 seats, so it's a little bit smaller, but the gymnasium will then be able to accommodate with the bleachers much more of the entire school population. The classrooms, they have science labs, real science labs. The music rooms, separate music rooms for the band, for the chorus, so that they don't have to practice behind the stage. It's just, there's a black box theater. There's so many things and it's all in that one building, and I just can't wait for it to open.
Thank you. Okay, and we're going to closing statements. You'll have 90 seconds, and we'll start with Anita Hill.
Okay. Thank you to Stoughton Chamber of Commerce and to SMAC for providing this opportunity to be here tonight. It has been an honor to serve as a Stoughton School Committee member for these last 3 years. I am also a town meeting representative and have been since 2000. For the time that I've been on this committee, I've always been committed to the improvement of the education of our children, whether it was through policies or budgets or hiring and evaluating the superintendent. I have served on the negotiating committee for the STA Unit A, the teachers, and also for the custodians unit. During the last 3 years, I was involved with the hiring of 2 business managers and most recently, our new superintendent of schools. I know our district has a new leader determined to help all students achieve their potential, and I look forward to working with him beginning in July. I will use my experience, my energy, and my commitment to achieve collaboration and common sense problem solving for wherever issues arise. My real life experience is in accounting. I am the HR and payroll manager at a small manufacturing company in Rockland. I'm very familiar with the financial end of the business budgets, hiring, payroll, employees, and the overall health of a business. We are responsible to keep our school district current in all federal and state requirements, but at the same time, we are responsible to our town residents. Our students deserve the best education our tax scholars can offer. Our residents deserve the utmost consideration when it comes to spending their tax dollars. I hope to be reelected and continue to be the best school committee member I can be for the entire school district, the administration, the teachers, the students, and their parents, and for all Stoughton residents. Please vote for me on April 9th.
Thank you. Dr. Ural.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for showing up. I thank the Chamber of Commerce, Stoughton TV, and all the candidates for making tonight happen. In the school committee race, we have 2 seats. You see one of the incumbents here. I'm the non-incumbent, and so I'm asking for one of your votes. You get to vote for 2 people. As I said, these are really new and exciting times. We got a new high school, new superintendent, so I like to be a part of that moment in our history, and I like to make a positive influence in affecting the school culture, affecting the administration culture, and making the lives of the students and teachers better, because that's all it's all about, the teachers and the students and their contact together. I have 5 priorities. I sort of mentioned it. One is promoting the cooperation with the Board of Selectmen and town manager to make it under the slogan of one town, one team. I like to work towards improving the credibility of the school committee and the administration. I like to work on the diversity, promoting diversity. We have serious student achievement issue in certain areas. I'm sorry that nobody asked that question. And also protect the best interests of the children and taxpayers as well.
Thank you. On behalf of the Stoughton Chamber of Commerce, I would like to thank you both for attending tonight. And I would like to remind the viewers that Election Day is Tuesday, April 9th, and the polls will be open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m., and SMAC will be broadcasting live election results that evening. And be sure to visit www.stoughtontv.com for all election coverage. We will take a quick break, and we'll be back shortly with the candidates for the Board of Selectmen.